Yes, I'm back. I've been gone for a few due to being busy, and especially yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment. Won't mention any names. Doctor I go to, um, I always have to do it early in the morning because, in order to get out of there on time, as early as possible, I need to go as early because this doctor is one of the best doctors around, but he will keep you there all day long. It's just the way. It's just the way um, his practice operates here in Johnston County, North Carolina. Anyway, I want to talk about Donald Trump for a moment. If there is one thing, well, there's probably quite a number of things, but one of the many things or reasons one should be glad that Donald Trump is gone is um, the health Department of Health and Human Services. And one of the things that I think that Joe Biden, well, not think, actually know that Joe Biden will be better on is when it comes to discrimination measures or anti-discrimination measures when it comes to the rights of the LGBTQ community. Because apparently during the Trump presidency, there's no apparently, during the Trump presidency, provisions, nation provisions were stripped away from the Affordable Care Act, which means that in the name of protecting the religious liberties of healthcare providers, they can simply deny treatment on those who are in need of healthcare to the point that where their life could be very much in danger. They could be denied treatment or care on the basis of that person's sexual orientation in the name of preserving that person's religious liberty. In other words, if a healthcare provider thinks that gays and lesbians and the LGBTQ community people are just icky to them, and they just don't like it. They and not just don't like, but hate people who are in that community and they're suffering. Well, not only are they going to violate the Hippocratic Oath, they're going to allow a human being to die. And apparently, with some segments of the population, that's fine because the religious liberty is important to these people. I mean, now in the past 30 years, I don't want to make it sound like that the United States is homophobic like Russia today under Vladimir Putin, or heavens forbid, Iran or Saudi Arabia or Uganda or whatever, where you can actually get the death penalty, for being gay. Uh, and the United States actually made some improvements over the years. It's not absolute equality the way it needs to be, but the improvements is there. I mean, it's there. The right to marriage is recognized now in all 50 states. That's a good thing. Nothing terrible about that. And for those who are against the idea of same-sex marriage, here's my advice. You don't believe in same-sex marriage? Don't marry a person for your own gender. It's as simple as that. That's that. Let those who have same-sex attraction marry another person with same-sex attraction. Live and let live. It's as simple as that. Marital equality taking place. They lifted the ban on gays and lesbians in the military. Unfortunately, the Trump administration placed the ban on the transgender community. Uh, Discrimination persists in various parts of the country. Some places are better than others as far as protection for the LGBTQ citizens in that state or that city. In some places, it's a matter of life or death if the community finds out that an individual may be LGBTQ. It just depends where you are location wise, but theoretically, there's been a lot of progress made, and made in ways that I didn't think it would transpire until maybe 2030 or 2050 or something like that. So, not all is bad news when it comes to the United States. It's been a lot of progress. Now, when it comes to the culture war, um, with the two-party system, one of the few areas where the Democrats and Republicans seriously contrast. And I would say that the Democratic Party's been pretty good on the issue of the LGBT community, not just the left wing, even the corporate Democrats, the neoliberals, the establishment, the people who will otherwise be, I will find an enemy in because I have an ideological mission to pursue a social democratic policy, social democratic ideals, social democratic reforms to make the United States look like our friends in the West that have free healthcare, free college, a generous pension system for their retirees, long vacation time for people, things that the United States is behind on. Um, as a social democrat, I find corporate Democrats absolutely awful and no different from Republicans. But on the issue of LGBTQ equality, the corporate Democrats are just as good as the left on the question of LGBTQ equality. They've been pretty damn good. I'll give them credit. And on the Republican side, uh, dismally awful for the most part. But while they have been awful and remain awful, there is an undercurrent within the Republican Party of people who like to see themselves as more libertarian like. And from that particular section of the Republican Party, they also been pretty good on the issue of LGBTQ community. They they're they are starting to be more accepting, and well, even among horrible people like former Vice President Dick Cheney, um, because it all came close to home with his daughter Mary being a lesbian, that he himself now embraces full LGBTQ community equality. I'm sorry, equality. And on that one, while I consider Dick Cheney even more of an enemy than I would a corporate Democrat. At least on the issue of the LGBTQ equality, he's actually on the side of good, because it came close to home. I don't care why he came to the conclusions he came up with. The fact is that now he's one of the good guys on that issue, whereas most of his um, colleagues on that particular section, the neocons and all of them in the Republican Party are terrible on that issue. And I want to go on and talk about the 2016 election. And no, don't worry, I'm not going to sit there and moan and groan about Bernie Sanders being cheated, even though he was cheated in 2016 and in 2020. I'm not going to mention it. I'm going to talk about the Republican primaries in 2016. And Donald Trump was one of the better candidates on that issue, whereas Ted Cruz and all the other Republicans gave that classic, I'm catering to evangelical Christians on this intolerance atmosphere, and just virtue signaling from the right to the Christian right, the religious people who wants to see the LGBTQ community go back into the closet, and or even worse, Donald Trump basically, when asked about same-sex marriage, he said it was a settled issue, and I kind of believe him in that regard. I mean, I don't think that Donald Trump is a homophobe personally. Now, before anybody gets mad at me, there's more to this. I'm not giving Donald Trump any free pass. I got some criticisms on the LGBTQ community, LGBTQ equality question when it comes to Donald Trump. But during the 2016 primaries, he was better than, let's say, Ted Cruz or Mike Huckabee or someone like that on that question. And objectively, even if you're the most Trump derangement syndrome neo-lib in the world, you have to admit that Donald Trump is probably going to be better on those issues than your typical movement conservative Republican. But the thing about it is that as the 2016 campaign took place, um, and I actually think my theory about Florida tipping over to Donald Trump in 2016 had to do with the Orlando shooting at the gay nightclub called the Pulse, where Omar Martin murdered 49 people in that bar. Went there and shot them, and based out of his hatred for the gay and lesbian community. Well, anyway, and I am leading to what I'm going to talk about in a second. I'm just very long winded because I always feel like I have a lot to say about these things. But Hillary Clinton just did the knee jerk, you know, not all Muslims are like this. It's a religion of peace, and and all of that. And Donald Trump's, basically said, he basically said, look, this guy's religious point of view and religious mindset caused this man to go and shoot 49 people dead. And he said a more progressive in that particular instant on LGBTQ equality than Hillary Clinton. And I think that maybe a section of LGBTQ community and some of the allies in Florida probably voted for Donald Trump in a situation where they otherwise wouldn't, because they felt like their community was thrown under the bus by Hillary Clinton, who just wanted to be politically correct and make excuses and shield the entire religion of Islam from criticism when it comes to their historical animosity toward gay and lesbians. Now, having that said, this is not. I'm not bashing Muslims either. I'm just saying that objectively, because I'm not a cultural relativist when it comes to this sort of thing. When it comes to this sort of thing, I believe there are bad people in all religions and all societies and all cultures that do bad things in the name of what's negative about their culture, including the United States. So, anyway, what I think happened was that's what tipped it over in favor of Donald Trump. And I've heard some people say, "Well, all this Christian fanaticism is what caused the shooting in the Pulse nightclub." No, nonsense, nonsense. This is probably the only time I'll give evangelicals maybe a pass, because I would not ever blame Pat Robertson or John Hagee, two people I hate, by the way. I will never blame them for what happened in Florida. However, doesn't mean that they're wonderful on that question. They just didn't have anything to do with it, and it was an individual who was the Muslim fanatic that did it. So I don't care if you're a Christian fanatic like Eric Rudolph that put explosives in a gay bar, or if you're a Muslim fanatic like Omar Martin that goes and shoot down 49 people, what have you. I don't care if you're an atheist doing it. I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care if you're whatever. If you commit acts of terrorism against the LGBTQ community, you're an SOB for doing it. And I'm not going to go and into any politically correct tirade over this, because I like to do what is right and believe in equality. But anyway, let's jump into where I have a problem with Trump when it comes to the LGBTQ community. And I don't believe that Donald Trump is a bigot toward LGBTQ community himself, but he sucked up to the Christian right during the campaign with all the culture war nonsense. Of course, in 2016 he downplayed the culture war, and but in 2020 he played up on the culture war issue. But the thing is that while he was president, to appease members of the religious right that may not 100% trust him, uh, um, he because he's a lazy man and he just wants to sit there and walk around the country at these rallies just to hear himself talk. He let Mike Pence slash the T's and dot the I's and govern. In a way, Mike Pence was a stealth president for the past 4 years. And I've always said that Mike Pence was always worse than Donald Trump on a lot of policy levels, because Mike Pence is of that type that comes from what I call movement conservatism. Well, it's not my phrase. Kyle Kalinske used the term movement conservatism, but movement conservatism is your typical garden variety laundry list of Republican wishes. In other words, corporately managed trade, neocon wars, placating to the religious right, union busting, anything that provides a hard on for people like Ted Cruz, George W. Bush, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Steven Crowder, um, Candace Owens, you name it. And now I'm going to include Dave Rubin in that because Dave Rubin he's a silly man. But anyway, anything that includes what they consider hot at the moment for the Republican Party and the Heritage Foundation. That's what movement conservatism is all about. But and Mike Pence is a movement conservative, and so all the LGBTQ protections that took place during the Obama administrations in various departments throughout the U.S. government, um, Mike Pence came in there and have it so where members of the LGBTQ community could be discriminated because Mike Pence is, he is a homophobe. I mean, yeah, the rumor has it that Mike Pence is a self-loathing homosexual, meaning that he utilized gay conversion measures to pray away his gay. Apparently, I'm not sure about that, but that's what I've heard. So it's possible we had in the United States an actual gay vice president who was a non-practicing gay person who hated himself. And if he is a gay person who hates himself, I will feel sorry for him. But but if he's anti-gay because he has hatred, then he was a dangerous man. He was a dangerous man regardless. But Mike Pence was one of the things that I feared in this country. It's one of the reasons why I opposed the first impeachment, because the prospect of Mike Pence being president scared the living hell out of me. And it's just, if you're a decent person, you should be scared of what someone like Mike Pence as president. But apparently, discrimination measures that were put in place, anti-discrimination measures that were put into place during the Obama administration with the Affordable Care Act, were taken out. In other words, if you're a member of the LGBTQ community and you're sick and your healthcare provider finds out that's who you are, they can deny you treatment on the basis of who you are, especially if it violates their religious conscience. Now, do I think that, do I believe that in thought control, meaning that if somebody who hates somebody because of their orientation or their race or their ethnicity or their religion or whatever. No, I don't think you should criminalize thoughts, but you should criminalize actions. I mean, if a doctor or some other healthcare provider allow a person to die because their religious liberty said, their religious conscience said, well, I don't like those icky LGBTQ community people. I'm gonna let them die. But that doctor or that healthcare provider should lose their license. They should not be involved in the healthcare industry at all. And honestly, they if they allow somebody to die, they should fucking go to jail. And I know some people will be like, well, what about their religious liberty? Well, let me tell you this. I am for religious liberty, but not when it comes to allowing a human being to die. So if I had to choose between religious liberty or allowing some individual to die because of what they are, I would tell that doctor and that nurse or that healthcare provider, fuck your religious liberty. Shove it up your ass. That's how I feel. I mean, to do that, to allow a person to die on the basis of who they are, that's unconscionable. I mean, it's not just unconscionable; it's evil. And I, this is the kind of thing that should be a no brainer. I mean, again, I'm not saying people should be forced to love people that they don't want to love. I'm not for controlling people's thoughts, but I'm certainly do not want to give the green light for somebody to use their intolerance be inflicted, to inflict harm on another person just to protect their religious liberty. Because that's not religious liberty. That's the right for haters to commit their acts of evil, of hatred, on the basis of their own hatred. And I don't have time for that. I mean, and not just a progressive, any decent conservative should be able to agree with what I just said there. Um, there's no reason why somebody should be dying or be left to die or what have you. And I'm trying to think that what's going on. I mean, you think about it. I mean, I'm not particularly fond of Joe Biden. You know my opinion on Joe Biden, but some things would be better, will be better under Joe Biden. And I think that at least on this question, when it comes to LGBTQ equality, it's going to be better for that community. Not going to be perfect, but it would be a hell of a lot better than it would be under under a second term of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is incapable of being an independent that he tried to make himself be at times, because he wants to sit there and cater to the John Hagees and the Pat Robertsons and the other intolerant buffoons out there who wants to go and inflict Christian Sharia onto the rest of the population. And so, anyway, that's just my saying about this. And it, you know, on some things, I won't apologize. Some things Joe Biden's going to be better on, and I think Joe Biden is a jerk. I don't like him, but he's going to be better on that issue. And if he's going to do something positive, I'm going to go and give Biden credit when he does something positive. If he does something horrible, I'm going to criticize him on that too. It just so happens that on the LGBTQ question, that I think that Joe Biden will be a hell of a lot better. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you were bothered, comment anyway. Um, feel free to share the content on this channel. If you, as a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you're passionate about something, please Please create a platform and utilize because we're the muckrakers of our time. Hit that notification bell, hit subscribe, and until next time, I am American Social Democracy. Peace and Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024.